So I just finished cleaning up the oil pan. Time to install our new gasket. So I'm going to take some oil and just lubricate both sides of it before I put it on, and then set it in there and then place it up. So now that I got it all oiled up, so if you can see here how the gasket's not quite lined up, what I'm doing is you go to the hole like before it, and then you can put a pick in there, and there we go. It's just lined up like that, and then you can slide your bolt in there. So that's just a little trick that I'm doing. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep on putting these bolts in. Remember, don't go hitting them down. You just want to get them finger tight first, and then do that a couple more times. Make sure all of them are finger tight, and then you're gonna go to 3.5 foot-pounds or 3 foot-pounds around there, and then you're gonna go to 3 foot-pounds first, and then 7 foot-pounds later. So we're gonna start tightening all these down. You have to do it in a specific order. As you can see here, this is from Clark's Garage, if you guys want to go check that out and print it out for yourself. But basically we're going to go the 5th one, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th one from the left, or from the rear. Tighten that one down finger tight. Then across, 5th one from the back there. And then we're going to go to the right one, bring it forward to the left one, and then we're just kind of spiraling out until we reach the end here. So the steps for this, let me move this out of the way. Oil pan to crankcase here. The max is going to be 7.5 foot-pounds, but you don't go there right away. If we look here, the step is hand tight first in that same order of like circling out, and then we're going to 3 foot-pounds, which on this torque wrench, inch-pound torque wrench, is going to be 36 inch-pounds. So then we're going to go to 7.5 foot-pounds, which is 90 inch-pounds. So let's go do that. Get them all hand tight in that order, and then make sure you actually do these multiple times. Like the third one, when you tighten them up from hand tight, you're going to be compressing that gasket more and more, and it's going to make those bolts looser. So you don't just do one time, because then there's going to be like uneven. One side's going to be tight. Like the bolts that you did to start the 3 foot-pounds are going to be loose by the end of the 3 foot-pound step. So just do them 2 to 3 times until they're all 3 foot-pounds, and then move up to 7.5 foot-pounds and do that a couple times. Don't just jump straight to 7.5, because you end up cracking your oil pan, and that's not going to be a fun time. So let's go start doing it.
One eternity later.
All right, that's done with the first round of 3 foot-pounds. I'm gonna go around and do it again, and then check the bolts to make sure they're all tight, and if not, I'm gonna do it again. But now I'm just gonna do the 3 foot-pounds again. So on the second pass of the 3 foot-pounds, you can see this end one right here. You can really see how far that bolt backed out. There's a big gap between there, so that's why it's important you do a couple turns around on the torque specs. I might do 3. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do 3 because those are we're still compressing the gasket, getting it to seat nice and good. Still compressing the gasket, which is loosening some of the bolts. So yeah, I'm going to do this one more time. I only have 2 bolts left on the second 3 foot-pounds. I'm gonna do after I do that, I'm gonna do the whole thing one more time. So I just finished my 3 passes at 3 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to do 3 at 7.5 foot-pounds, and that'll be our final. So this is 90 inch-pounds on here. So let's go do these again. So again, remembering our pattern, we start 5 from either side. So I just finished up all of the 7.5 foot-pound. I did 3 of them. After 2, they were all tight. The third one was just making sure none of them turned and clicked. They were all just click, 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 click. So now that we have this done, we can get our motor mounts and cross member back up here, and we can finally get the engine support bar off of the car. All right, so a little update here. Let me grab a light real quick. So a little update here. I got the motor mounts. The first thing I did was connect the motor mounts to the actual motor, or the crankcase or whatnot, with these Allen screws. I tightened them down. They're supposed to be tightened down to 35 foot-pounds. I just did it as hard as I could with small Allen, since there's no way to really measure. And then I started to try to line. You see, I didn't go all the way, but I started to line the bolts up. But the engine did drop quite a bit from the original position to on the support bar up there. It dropped down a little bit, and I couldn't get threads on there. So what I did was I got a jack on top of 2 rotors. I got a jack and started pushing it up and pretty much just lining it up. Since this one kind of moves at like an angle of like that, I just use that to like shift it back and forth and line it up. And then I was able to get one on, and once I was able to do that, I went up to the top, and since I pushed the engine up, the chains on the support bar were a little looser, so I tightened those up as much as I could, so they were tighter. And then I lowered down the jack, repositioned it because it needed to come back, so I needed to pull it this way a little bit, so when it comes up, I needed it to come up and back, just so I flipped the jack around. And then I got bolts in over there. And yeah, I still have to tighten these down. It's easier to line up the motor mounts with like the screws if you have the bottom kind of loose, like the bottom loose, because then you can tilt it a little bit more to get those holes lined up. It took me about an hour to get everything lined up, but I got bolts in now, and I'm just gonna send some of them up with my impact here. So just sending some up. I did make sure to get a couple threads in on the bolts before I did that, so I didn't cross thread them. Just gonna go up nice and evenly. So we got that side up a little bit. I'm gonna come to this side. Need to change modes on my impact here in a little bit. So So that one's up against it. I'm just gonna set the camera down and then do the rest of it. So I got all the bolts back up. I just snugged them up with the impact. Now I'm gonna go torque them down. As you can see here, cross member, they are 63 foot-pounds, so I'm gonna go torque those down now. Now the engine's back on its own weight. Last thing I'm gonna do to this cross member is tighten up the motor mount bolts on the bottom, since now it's kind of situated where it needs to be. Just tighten these up. The torque spec says like 34 foot-pounds. I'm just gonna tighten these up real quick. So 35 foot-pounds. So now that we got everything, the cross member tightened up, we are free to remove that engine support bar, and we can start reassembling everything, like our steering rack, and that's about it. So we're almost done. Don't forget to reinstall our drain plug. This is pretty high for a drain plug, but it is an old car, so I'm gonna do 35 foot-pounds instead of 37. But yeah, let's reinstall this one, our drain plug, into the oil pan. So just ignore these chains hanging down here. I just removed the engine support bar. It's now laying on the ground over there. Now we're gonna reinstall our steering rack, and that'll just go the way we came off, these 4 bolts going to the cross member, 4 bolts up there. If we go to our steering gear, I'm pretty sure that's what it is being called on this one, because it's going to the cross member. So steering gear to cross member, that's going to be 17 foot-pounds. So let's get the 13 millimeter bolts back in the cross member through the steering rack and torque them down to 17 foot-pounds. So I forgot about the hard line that ran on top of the cross member for the steering rack. So note that it's a lot easier if you can just put the when you're installing the cross member, to put the steering the hard line from the steering rack over top of the 2 mounting spots here. It's a lot easier to do that than it was to get it over there. But basically I just had to loosen it up a little bit, take some bolts out, and able to wiggle it over, push the steering knuckle up or whatnot, and was able to get it over. So now you're gonna want to just maneuver it up, line up the holes, and tighten her down again. So let's do that now. There we go. Now we got our steering rack reinstalled. And don't forget to do the steering column to the steering rack so that you can actually turn the wheels. So a note, do it when this steering rack is a little loose, because this needs to come out just a little bit more so that I can get the bolt on there. So I got it all lined up. I had to loosen these bolts over here. To get the steering column on to the steering rack itself, I put a Allen key, or just like a rod. You can see here, that rod that's moving. I put that through the hole that the bolt goes through, and I kind of just pulled down and got it to sit on there. So now it's time to reinstall our bolt and washer, and nut. And this is going to get torqued down to 22 foot-pounds. There we go. And that officially concludes our replacement of the oil pan gasket. So if you want to see me reinstall the control arms, just click the link up here. That's where I go over all the control arm stuff, how to take them off, how to put them on, how to press bushings in, whatnot. Click that video up there, and that'll take you to the whole overview on all the control arms and the bushings and the ball joints on the control arms. Everything you need to know is in that video. So anyway, if you found this video informative, please be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, no matter your experience or your skill level, keep on improving.